Hey, gang, welcome to the show. This is the Simplified Church podcast. So excited to have you be a part of what we're doing here each and every week as we're trying to connect with as many everyday pastors, leaders, volunteers, folks just like you that are in the trenches of everyday ministry, just trying to get it right, trying to fulfill the calling that God has placed on your life. And we're thankful to be a part of that, man. We're ready for a great episode today. We're already having a good time in the studio. Hanging out with me is, my man with the plan right here. Too sweet to be sour. He is the man of the hour, the Greg Braswell. Looking good as always, man. Fly for a white guy.
Hey,
Love to see you, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm soaking up these ridiculously warm temperatures in the Midwest this week. And so, yeah, able to kick out the short sleeve polo and probably some flip flops and shorts tomorrow. It's supposed to be like 80.
What a wild man.
Hey,
Got the short sleeve polo on.
That's right. Hey. Getting ready to channel my inner tourist dad. And
I love that.
Rock
You
the
got
flip flops.
Yeah. Okay. Do you put the
And the fanny
sandals
pack.
and the socks with the sandals or anything?
I can't do the socks and the sandals, but I can do the flip flops and the fanny pack.
Okay. Now, is that like an over the shoulder kind of fanny pack, or do you is it full on like around the waist?
I don't think I'm cool enough to do the cross the body.
Yeah, whatever they call those.
Yeah,
I call them shoulder fanny packs. I don't know what they are.
Yeah, I'm not that hip.
Okay, well.
So yeah, I don't think I could pull that off.
Yeah. Do you think it's the fact that you're excited about the short sleeve polo that's the deterrent to your hipness, or do you think it's
no? It's just general lack of hipness.
Something else. I totally get it.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah. Let me tell you what was a game changer in my life. The game changer in my life was the advent of the Hey Dude. It is probably one of the single greatest inventions in the last 10 years.
Agreed.
If I'm being honest, and the Hey Dude gets a lot of hate, man, from a lot of folks. It's just like, those are basically slippers. And it's like, well, I mean, they're not slippers, they're shoes, but it's the perfect shoe.
Have you seen the new Hey Dude? It's like a tennis shoe.
What? Maybe I have seen this. Actually.
I have not put one on my foot yet, but it's on my list of things to do because I'm right there with you. Hey, dudes.
Oh man. Yeah. Those are sharp. Yeah. Wow. These are really nice.
Arguably the most comfortable thing I've ever had on my feet.
I'm a big fan, man. I'm a big fan. Yeah. These are pretty cool looking, man. Yeah. I'm a big fan of these. And listen, listeners,
hey, dude, if you want to send us some free samples, we will gladly report back.
I would love if people started trolling their social media accounts, posting this a clip from this episode. Like, sponsor these dudes. Sponsor them. I got a birthday coming up. These would look great on my feet.
For your birthday.
For my birthday. Yes. If you guys want to make that happen, it's pretty simple. Mike at SimplifyChurch.com is a great place to send a gift card. If you feel like you need to, man, if the Lord stirs, get a little movement, a little action from the Holy Spirit on that one. But man, I'm excited about these warmer temperatures. I was excited to tell you, man, earlier that, weather like this makes you want to go outside and just kind of, jump into some bushes and roll down some hills of grass, which I have a good time with, man. I used to do as a kid, you didn't just roll down hills and stuff like big old grassy hills. You just get down there and roll.
I can't say that I did, but we had a dog, dude.
So you're saying, hang on a second. So what you're saying is, in place of going out and having fun, you had a dog. And
no.
Was like,
no. What I'm saying is, we had a dog. You
pushed the dog down the hill.
No. But you couldn't roll down the hill because the dog may have left a present in the.
Oh, I'm tracking with you.
Tracking with me now?
Okay. Yeah, I went to a very dark place. I'm like, Greg, dude, this is a show, man. This is recorded. Don't admit to hitting dogs and pushing them down hills, man. What are you doing, guy? That's really funny. No, yeah. So you got landmines left and right out there. Yeah, you got to. Yeah, you can't roll down the hill.
Can't just be rolling down the hill, not paying attention to what you're doing.
No, that's a quick way to cut your day short and end up in a shower with your clothes thrown away.
That's right. Burn them.
Yeah, you can't. You don't wash those. Those just get thrown away. That's the only way that goes. Yeah. I don't know how many, like we've got 2 dogs, man, and they're constantly just wrecking the backyard. And my youngest son is on his dog. He's on dog duty, as we call
Mhm.
it. And I mean, he does a pretty good job keeping up on it. But like twice a year, he just has to throw away a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Because they're like it's irrevocable damage. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing you can do here. So it just looks like you just absolutely destroyed those shoes. But anyway, I'm loving the warmer weather. I'm enjoying it, man. And
Agreed. It's not here to stay.
no, it's not. This
But-
is level 1 fake spring,
That's right.
and then we'll be
Just
back
long
into-
enough to get everybody's allergies stirred up.
Yeah, spiders back alive.
That's right.
Yeah, I saw a mosquito.
Mosquitoes.
Yeah, I did. I saw a mosquito the other day, and I thought, oh, buddy, you came out too early because you're gonna die, which is always kind of fun. But man, I'm always excited, dude, to be able to do the show with you and to catch up and connect. But man, I'm really looking forward to our conversation today because I feel like this is such a timely one, an important one. I know that one that you and I have talked about quite a bit is almost to an extent like it's such a big idea and there's such a necessity for this in our churches, but it seems to be like kind of like a moving target at times and never sure quite how to get after it. And so today, as you've already seen kind of the headline of our episode, we're talking about how to get hospitality right at your church, how to do it right, how to really move the needle in that direction that says, man, we want to be a church that is known for our hospitality. We want to be known for the way that we're generous with how we welcome people and how we invite them in, how we create a space that's intentionally designed to make people feel like they're at home. And so we're going to be talking about that today, of how to move the needle in that direction. But you know, I think it's important that we set out kind of a distinction. Like way back in like episode 9 or episode 10, way back early on in the history of the Simplified Church podcast, we talked about this idea of gospel-centered hospitality. So Greg, how does that, man, like what's the difference between like the idea of gospel-centered hospitality and the practice of it? Like what would you say differentiates those two things?
Sure. So trying to put my way back cap on and recalling some of the things that we did talk about in that previous episode, I think we did try to push heavy toward what is hospitality, like just from a mental position of how do we think about hospitality and what how does that then motivate and how do we create it as a lens through which we see everything else. And so I think those are still good and important things. But I think when we're thinking about gospel-centered hospitality, we're saying, I want to be so impacted and so influenced by the gospel that it motivates me to be hospitable, to invite people into my life, into my sphere, into my space, with the aim and the intention of being able to point them toward Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow. And so how the gospel becomes the cycle that stirs up our hospitality. If that makes sense. And that's kind of the lens that I try to look at hospitality through, is to say, okay, what can I do? How can I engage this person or these people? How can I create a space that is warm and inviting so that we might get the opportunity to take it a step further and share the good news of Jesus with that person?
Yeah, so it's a lot of it's the why behind the what. It's the it's like the means to the end. Like we want to create a hospitable space because we want people to be in an environment where they can hear well the gospel message.
Yeah, for sure.
And that we've at least done our part to try to help people feel comfortable in doing so. I mean, it's no different, man, than like when we bring people into our homes and we want to be able to have like really like meaningful conversation. We try to go to some length, you know, whether it's like, for some people, hospitality is really hard, right? And some for other
Sure.
folks, it's very natural. But we all go to some sort of length to make sure our house is clean, it's warm, it's inviting, smells nice. Things are put away or at least hidden well, and and so that when people come over and they hang out, that the environment is conducive to that. Like we all know what it's like to go to somebody's house. Like, hey man, why don't you come over and hang out for a little bit? Like you and your wife or you and your family come over, and then you come in, and that place is just chaos. And so like there's no desire to want to hang out. There's no desire to want to have any meaningful conversation. You're so distracted by everything that's going on that to some degree you just can't wait to get out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that is the clear kind of relational continuum that you can track and see where are you in relationship with that person.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
There does become that moment in time where you have a strong enough relationship and you've invited these people into your life so much that now it does not matter.
Right.
Like you don't clean the house for them anymore because they're part of your family. They're part of your life. And so they're welcome into the space regardless of if it's clean or not. Just like when you were dating your spouse of okay, yeah, everything has to be just like it's supposed to be. They need to not see that I'm a slob or that I don't always pick up after myself or that I can't be neat and tidy. And then you get married and you see that maybe that person is not as tidy as I thought that they were.
Or man, yep.
or maybe I put on the appearance that I am more tidy than I actually am. And so same thing is true in those relationships where eventually you can track and say, yep, okay, here's the part where you're not really friends anymore. You are now part of the family. You just come on, the door is open, come in, don't knock. You're going to find our house in the state that it's in.
Yeah. And we're not going to apologize for it.
No.
Yeah. That's so funny.
And I think that's a sweet place to be, but you can't be there with everybody.
No, you can't. And it takes a lot of work on the front end to get like that.
Yep.
Like it gets to like, you have to start with a level of intentionality and hospitality, but just because like you're living a little more of like a realistic or more authentic way of life and you're bringing people into your family or into your home as family, that doesn't mean the hospitality changes. You're not rude to them. Like at least you're still there to engage. You're still there to build a relationship. You're still there to invest. You're just doing it in a more authentic way. You know, it's like, when you, like you said, man, when you're kind of dating your spouse early on, it's like, man, yeah, you showered every day. Everything was neat and tidy and fresh. And like, if you had hair, I had hair for a little bit and it was glorious. I mean, it was.
Did you have a mullet?
No, Matt, believe me, if I could have, I would have, brother. Okay. The old Tennessee top hat, you better believe that Kentucky waterfall would have been on point, but I was unfortunately unable.
Perm.
Yeah.
With the perm.
Gosh, man. I wish I could have, dude. Just a little bit of activator just dripping off the back there. I would have loved to have had that. Just always a wet neck from that mullet. But you get to that spot, man, where you're dating your spouse and then, then it becomes some weird game where you're like, I haven't showered in 3 days, And it's like, well, that's not ideal, So there has to still be like, you have to still maintain some level of intentionality, but it's no different in our churches. Like people, the more comfortable they become in your church and the more included in the community of faith that you're offering, that you're bringing people into, the more they're willing to overlook some of the goofy things, the mistakes, the mess ups, some things that just aren't like super important anymore. But the difference is with our churches is we're not done inviting new people in.
Right.
This is an ongoing invitation to new people, whomever God might bring to come check out your church or check out your groups, your studies, your events, whatever you got going on. So the pursuance of hospitality on a practical level, it never ends.
Exactly.
Right. It's something we have to continue to maintain. Like from your perspective, in your seat, how does that consistent pursuance of hospitality, how does it play out at your church?
Yeah. So we're trying to cause it to play out in several different ways. Not only, for those folks who are new coming in, and just kind of checking out what we're about. And so, yeah, pushing our people, hey, make sure that if you see somebody who you don't recognize, that you're going out of your way to welcome them, to get to know them, to engage them. But then also continuing to one up, even as folks are getting to the point where, okay, maybe they're not new anymore.
Yeah.
But like, how are our teams being hospitable and inviting people in to serve? So taking the hospitality not just from an outsider that we're inviting in, but how are we inviting people who are at least fringe connected to us and inviting them in deeper. And so continuing to be hospitable, continuing to invite them in to that next step, whatever that next step is. And so you're right. It's a consistent thing that we're just having to keep going back to and say, okay, are we this? Because here's the thing. Every church, I can honestly say every church that I've ever been in thinks that they are friendly, warm, and inviting.
Yes. And good at it.
Yeah, and good at it. And I think many of them really are. But there are some caveats and some qualifiers to their friendliness.
Yes.
Oh, we're friendly to people we know.
Oh, sure.
Or we're welcoming to people who act a certain way, or who look a certain way, or
or vote a certain way.
Exactly. Yep. And so we've got to be constantly pressing in and pressing against some of those things as we're saying, are we really warm and welcoming? Are we really inviting people in? And how am I being hospitable outside the four walls of the church, so that when I make the invitation to someone to come, they know that it's the real deal?
Man, that's good, dude.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's really important.
And where it's not that weird, oh yeah, you invited me to come to church, but you didn't like come and meet me at the door, or you didn't invite me to come sit with you, or you didn't invite me to lunch after church, or you know what I mean? Just little things that are all part of hospitality.
Yep.
And you can't check every box every time.
No.
Like, I get that. You can't, like, I will never be able to sit with someone that I invite to church.
Yeah, it's true. Especially, because you're on stage so much, and the up and down, plus the running around.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's tough.
But I can say, hey, but I'm going to connect you with somebody that I know well, that I think you're going to connect with, and I want to take you to lunch after church.
That's huge.
Or whatever it is. And anybody can do that, because you don't have to go to a fancy place for lunch. I mean, you can if you want, but you know what? You can sit around and eat Taco Bell and talk.
Just a bag full of gas station hot dogs.
Hey,
whatever
works.
Tailgate somewhere.
Hopefully they've at least cleaned the rollers.
No. Now, see, this is where you're wrong. Okay. That's just scraping off all the taste, brother. You're
not supposed to throw out the hot dog boil water, are you? You just keep that going, right?
Just keep that circulating. So you just like put them little fish tank filters in there. Just keep air flowing.
Could we just use the baptistry for that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I could totally imagine all of a sudden it was the hillbillies. But dude, I think what you're saying is really critical to this, because what you're identifying, especially what you're trying to create, not only in yourself, but in your teams, the folks at your church, is going beyond like the idea that we think we're hospitable, we think we're friendly, to actually moving it from this notion of something that we often view as a strategy, but you're moving it into a way of living. And this is a huge pitfall for churches. Pastor, hear me on this, because this is the one thing that, like, the temptation is so strong to turn hospitality into this program. Like, it's a program that we do. It's a strategy that we try to build around. It's this all-encompassing, field that we're going to run down. We're going to try to carry the ball and move it. When in reality, you cannot program hospitality. No. It has to be a way of life. Yeah. And it has to be something we build out into our people. This is so critical. It's really more about growing this characteristic inside of us as believers, and then seeing the church as an opportunity, one of the many opportunities that we have to flesh it out. And so it's just like what you said, man. Like I can't sit with you, but I'm going to get you connected. I'm going to take you to lunch.
Yeah. Well, and I think we miss, like, we read through the book of Acts and we oh man, God did all this just incredible stuff in the book of Acts. Yeah, absolutely he did. But we often miss the simple things that the people were doing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That allowed and developed and pushed forward the relational opportunities for even greater impact.
Yeah, especially Acts chapter 2.
Exactly. We missed that. And they gathered from house to house,
breaking
for
bread,
meals together. And they were working together, and they were playing together. They were eating together. They were
sacrificing for each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've missed that, because biblical hospitality is not just how we engage and encounter others as far as outsiders. It's also how we engage and encourage and partner with and do life with, as much as I hate that phrase, with those who are part of our faith family.
Yeah.
And so I 100% agree with you that we can't program hospitality.
No.
But we can create opportunities to teach our people how to be hospitable.
Yeah. And in the same vein, as we do that, we also have to recognize that it's still okay to live in the tension of not programming hospitality, but having a hospitality team.
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
Recognizing that we have environments, and we want to put the right people at the front door of those environments.
For sure.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And so you're not trying to program it. What you're trying to do is ensure that you're giving people with the gift of hospitality, or at least the capacity for it, an opportunity to grow that gift, to grow and to develop into that calling in their life. Yep. I mean, this is what Ephesians 4 is, gang. This is what we're here to do, Pastor. Like, we're here to be able to equip people for the works that God has pre-planned in advance for them to do. And there are just some really naturally hospitable folks at your church that you want to put those folks on the front door. You want to put them as the first face that people see when they've got questions, when they're uncertain about what to do, when people get flustered because the kids, check-in system isn't working, and you've got somebody who's cool, calm, and collected there to walk them through it. You got folks looking for people sitting in the auditorium by themselves, and folks are walking up and saying, "Hey, I want to introduce myself. Like, yeah, man, so glad you're here today." Like, making those touches, because they go a long way to helping people feel like they're included. And this is something we forget about all the time, man. But we forget what it's like to be new at church. We forget what it's like to be new. And I'm telling you, man, when you walk into some place where you're new and you feel like everyone here has been doing this forever and you're the odd person out, but you're supposed to be here and you're curious about it, it goes a long way to have someone who's hospitable. But that's got to be something that comes out of a person as a means of their development and growth and their giftedness and their pursuance, not as a result of a program where people are like checking the boxes. It's just never going to work. And I think, to that end, another pitfall that we've got to be careful of, as we're pursuing this notion of hospitality, is hospitality is not a job. It's not a job, because, man, people can sniff that out when you feel like, well, it's the right thing to do, so we're going to do it. Like, we can sniff that out all day long. Yep. We sniff it out in our relationships. We see this play out when we know someone's just doing their job, but it's not really their passion. Right. It's not really a part of who they are. Like, I mean, what are the potential challenges there, Greg, when a church says, well, we know we need to be hospitable, so we're going to be hospitable, or at least we're going to try to, fake it till we make it. Sure. When we're and treating it like a job, what are some of the challenges there?
Yeah. So I think we've got to balance that, because I do think that there is a certain level of this that it is a spiritual discipline. And so it's something that should be part of our lives with some kind of regularity. But you're 100% right that there will be some people that come by it 100% naturally and they don't have to work at it.
Right.
And those are the people that we want to be connected and engaged in our hospitality team kind of things, where we really are motivating and saying, yeah, let's put the people who this is just the air that they breathe. Let's put them in these spots so that they can show genuine concern and care for the people who are coming into our context.
Yeah.
100%. And to that end, when we put people in those positions that's not who they are, and we don't partner them with somebody that it is, we're setting everybody up to fail.
That's good.
Because we're saying, well, we know we have to do this, so we're going to do it, but we're only going to halfway it. Or we're going to do it until somebody I know comes up, and then I'm going to go over and I'm going to talk to the people that I know, and I'm going to, not pay attention to new people who are coming in, or any number of things. And so, yes, there are some major pitfalls. And the greatest one is that you still stay internally focused, because you have people who are not just naturally inclined,
right,
and directed toward outsiders.
Man, that's wow, dude. Yeah, that's that's a huge thought, but like that, I don't want us to miss that, man. Yeah. So how do we help get people to that place? Like, how do we help develop opportunities or create opportunities that encourage that bring that out? Because I'm afraid we can miss what you just said and go and yeah, we can nod our heads in agreement, but then realize like, no, that's actually a really strong statement and a practical solution for what we're talking about today. How do you develop that?
As far as ensuring that we're still turning and focused externally and on outsiders.
Yes.
So I think a couple of things help with this. I think the first one is constantly, like, till your people are tired of hearing you say it, telling your people that you are expecting guests to come and that you are expecting outsiders to show up.
Yeah. Wow.
That's huge.
Yep.
And we don't always hit the mark. Okay. But saying we're expecting that we're going to have outsiders. I think the other thing is, man, leveraging the opportunities, whether they're with church folk who are just shopping for a new church, or who, hey, they've landed in a new community and they're wanting to land in a church, and so they're checking you out. If they connect, finding out, okay, so how did we do? Did we really hit the mark on hospitality, or are we missing it? Were we focused too much in and not enough out? And so developing those kind of opportunities to ask those questions are huge. And they're uncomfortable, because you might hear something you didn't want to hear.
Oh man. Yeah.
But then I think the other piece of it, and there's nothing like inviting your own people into opportunities to serve and to grow. And so how can you take the people that you have, that they're always thinking about folks who don't yet come to your church? That's just the way that they are focused, and the way that they are directing all of their attention toward, man, I know so many people in our area who don't do church. I can tell you this person and this person and this person, and they're constantly thinking about those people. Man, if you can get them connected as a part of your hospitality team, and then get them connected to other people in your church, they will begin to shift the thinking of your people.
Yeah, those people are natural connectors.
They are.
That's huge for your team.
And here's the thing, especially when we're thinking about hospitality, whether it's parking lot greeters, greeters in your facility, as hey, we're just so glad that you're here. Hey, you look like you're new. Could I help you find something?
Yeah.
Hey, I make coffee. I'm so glad that you're here. Whatever the role is, those people, they don't have to be people who've been in your church for 100 years.
No.
In fact, some of probably the most effective ones are going to be your brand new people. just by and large, the folks that I have found that are the best at hospitality are your newest folks. Not that long-term members can't be hospitable, but they've lost a little of the excitement.
Oh yeah, totally.
And so you've got these new folks who just are super excited about their church. And so they're thinking I'm so glad that you're here. How can I help you? What can I do to serve you? And so leveraging those kind of folks, inviting some of your others into it and say, hey, I just want to invite you to come do a hospitality thing with me. Or, hey, you know what? I had this wild idea. What if you and your family came over to my house and we put the grill out on the driveway and just invited all of my neighbors to come around and have a hot dog and a Coke and just get to know people and be hospitable. What would that be like?
Yeah, man.
Just things like that you're naturally introverted, naturally inward focused people aren't going to think about. How do you leverage your people who are outside thinking, outward thinking people and invite them to invite those who aren't like them into what they're doing?
Yeah. I mean, I think what you're describing is it's a shift away again from that notion of trying to program almost like a corporate way of doing hospitality and moving it into more of a space of where things are really personal.
Mm-hmm.
Like that we take hospitality personally. I think about this sometimes, man, like when you go out to a restaurant, you go out to eat somewhere, whatever, and people, they like when servers particularly can anticipate you a little bit. I love that, where it's like, man, you're taking your job personal now. It's not just a job for you. It's not just something you're not punching the clock. You're not walking around waiting for me to tell you, but you anticipate. There's nothing for me that will guarantee you a good and higher tip than when you anticipate my like my cup, my glass. And when that Coke Zero gets to the bottom third, when now we're really competing against the melting ice and the Coke Zero, you know what I mean? When that server can already anticipate that, and there's a fresh Coke Zero before I get to that bottom third, and maintains that without having to be asked or told, right, that goes a long way. Can anticipate clearing plates out of the way. Like it's that personal touch that goes a long way, or just does something kind. Like anytime you go out somewhere, you get something to eat or whatever, or a coffee or somewhere, and then someone adds that little extra touch. It goes a long way to like, man, wow, you've made this personal. It feels a lot like you're honoring me, or you're treating me with kindness, yep, and not just doing your job. Yep. And in church, hospitality has got to be personal.
Yeah,
it's got to be,
yep,
or it's never going to last beyond that one Sunday.
Sure. Well, and okay, so we've talked about this before and had a good laugh a good number of times over it. About trying to get the people at Chick-fil-A to say "my pleasure" as many times as humanly possible.
Yes,
whilst being in a Chick-fil-A.
It's one of my life goals.
But here's the deal: you can tell the people who really mean it,
yes,
versus the people who know they have to say it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, and it's true for church too.
Oh, dude, that's good, man.
It really should be our great pleasure to be able to welcome someone into our church.
Yeah.
Into our place of worship where we've gathered as the body of Christ. It should be our great pleasure to be able to invite someone into that who maybe doesn't know Jesus yet, or who hasn't been connected to a church in a very long time, or fill in the blank, but that should be one of our greatest pleasures. And so how do we transition and move our people away from the begrudging my pleasure to, you know what, that really was my great pleasure, my great joy, to be able to invite you in to what God is doing here.
Man, I literally have nothing else I can add to that, because that was so good. Pastor, leader, man, go back and listen to that section again and write that down. Share that with your team this Sunday. And honestly, going into Easter, this is a great opportunity to just revisit the conversation of hospitality with your teams and in your church. And what if this Easter you told your people, hey, it is our great pleasure to get these people connected on one of the most important days of our calendar year, one of the most important opportunities we have. Like, man, make sure you take a step in that direction this Easter. Don't miss this opportunity. What an incredible challenge, and what an incredible idea, Greg. I appreciate that so much. That's huge, and that's really such a great call to action for all of us. So, man, Pastor Leader, this is what we're all about. So I hope you feel encouraged as a result of our conversation today. Just some practical solutions, some practical steps on how you can get hospitality right at your church. Make sure you like and man, subscribe to our podcast and the different episodes. Man, share this episode with other pastors and friends that you have that might benefit from this to help keep the conversation going. We always like to try to get out in front of as many pastors as we can. You can head to our website at simplifiedchurch.com, where we do more than just resource everyday pastors with these kind of tips and tricks. We also offer a variety of services, bookkeeping, accounting, online giving, bill pay, payroll, all kinds of great services that help simplify your life in ministry. We'd love to be able to partner with you in those ways as well. But Pastor, as always, we're praying for you. We're so thankful for you. Greg, you are the man. It is our great pleasure to be able to do this. We'll talk to you soon. See you next week.